actually took him down a bit early because he was on his toes and he was getting popped up for the race, so I wanted to keep him quiet. But yeah, he race went perfectly for me. Nice, good, solid pace.
This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Broadcasting live from the Capital OTB studios, this is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Good morning and welcome to Racing Across America on this Sunday morning. Yeah, I brought in a spare set of clothes, so I was ready. You know, I slept over there, and then I came over and changed the clothes, and here we are this morning. A late night last night with OTB Live being an extended, I really didn't sleep here, being an extended version last night with the look at Churchill Downs. We'll recap those stakes. It was a fun night. Woodbine Mohawk also had a great card on the harness side of things, and it was a fun afternoon into evening into night last night with, again, a really nice card at Churchill, which we'll hit on. But before we do that, I want to thank our friends at Woodbine for their sponsorship. Woodbine, pick, bet, and cheer on great racing north of the border. Also, the Leah Auto Group, Leah, Cars for Life. Should hit on promos as well because there is, 4 Sundays at the book continues today. Week 2 of our Trifecta Challenge contest format continues here at the Clubhouse Racebook, hence the book. I like that. Should have a little apostrophe before it, though, as it is an abbreviation. 4 Sundays at the book continuing today here at the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue in Albany. Come on down and hop into the action. Oh, also, the 3% bonus continues on Churchill wagers today. If you wager on Churchill with your Capital OTB Bets account, you have the opportunity to perhaps pick up some extra dough with the 3% bonus. Restrictions apply. Check out the website for more information. And don't forget, there is nighttime thoroughbred racing tonight. And I will hit on that in a few. That will include the nice Affirmed from Santa Anita, the return of Roadster and Mucho Gusto. So that'll be fun. Nighttime thoroughbred racing here on the network and available for wagering at capitalotbbet.com. All right, let's jump right into it. The stakes action from Churchill last night. We'll kind of work our way backwards from the Regret, which wound up the stakes action. We'll watch the stretch run here to the Regret. I liked Varenka, the Augustin stable runner trained by Graham Motion. Varenka's the number 4 horse, will wind up third as the favorite, 4-1 on the morning line, but did take the action. The comment stuffed at the 3/16, so I had a little bit of trouble. It is number 5, Hard Legacy, over number 1, Winter Sunset. Got to love the color on that one horse. Very easy to pick off if you bet that one. But the number 5, there's a little bit of a challenge, but certainly looks good fending off that challenge. Look at the Silks colors. They look familiar. Mary Lou Whitney. So congratulations to the Mary Lou Whitney stable, trained by Norm Cassie. That's kind of fun, too. Norm off and running on his career as a trainer. He's been on his own now, a year and a half or so, after having been the top assistant for his dad, Mark. But Norm Cassie gets the stakes win at the end of the night at Churchill yesterday. Hard Legacy over Winter Sunset. Varenka, as I say, runs third with a little bit of trouble in there. I also had in my mix Princess Carolina. She was a little bit of a disappointment. Is what the third choice at 5-1. Ran 8th in the field of 11. But Hard Legacy looking pretty good. The Regret for 3-year-old fillies on the grass. We'll see. It is a Norm Cassie runner, what the plans will be for the summertime. Mark Cassie said a smaller stable than usual at Saratoga this year. Norm Cassidy's son, being new to the game, I don't think he had many horses. He didn't run, I'd have to look it up now, but I'm pretty sure he ran a few up at Saratoga, I'm almost positive, last year. So you would think the possibility floats out there that we'll see Hard Legacy, particularly being a Mary Lou Whitney runner. But again, it was start number 5 in the career, win number 3. First couple of starts were maiden special victory and an optional claimer, then moved into stakes company and had run 5th and 4th, but finally broke through and put the stakes win on the resume last night at Churchill Downs, and the regret, Hard Legacy, getting it done. That was the last of the 5 stakes races. And I ran into a couple of people last night who were saying, hey, how about the race? How about Churchill? Interesting. I was out to dinner, and then I went out for a little while last night. And the Churchill card obviously attracted some attention, having a nice stakes line up there highlighted by the Stephen Foster. But I had a few people, hey, how about Seeking Soul? But I had a couple of people last night who hit the all stakes pick 5. And I said, good job. It wasn't an impossible sequence by any means. A $13 winner, $11 winner, then $3.80 in the mix as well. A late, and then that was a late, $3.80. $23 winner, that was the one that was a little bit tough, and $3.20 for Mr. Money. So a couple of chalky favorites and a couple of, 3 others that were double digits, but not impossible by any means. But for 50 cents, that all stakes pick 5 last night at Churchill Downs, over $1,100. So that was, again, good job if you had it. Nice opportunity to pick up a little money last night at Churchill with that all stakes pick 5. Buyer figures are out, at least the preliminaries. The regret, an 83 buyer last night for Hard Legacy. All right, let's move a little earlier on the card. And the regret ended the stakes action, but the highlight of the stakes action, obviously the Stephen Foster with $600,000 up for grabs. Grade 2 event, was a grade 1. I think this was the first year it was written. It was raced as a grade 2. Also, I didn't really realize it until I was reading the follow-up comments this morning. First year, it has been raced as not a handicap race, so under essentially allowance-type conditions. But the Stephen Foster last night, I used Gift Box. I thought Gift Box, the Southern California form, was just too good to ignore. But there was the question mark, was it just Southern California form? Could the horse come back east of the Mississippi and duplicate that? Answer, no. Gift Box lines up 4th in the field of 12 as the 2-1 favorite. Was wide, made a little bit at the quarter pole and weekend. Those are your chart comments as well. 9-2 as the third choice, actually. It'll be number 4, Seeking the Soul. Again, Dallas Stewart saying, don't ignore me in a big race. $11 and change, the winner. Number 10, Quip for Rudy Brissett, runs 2nd. And Tom's Day Tot, a horse I thought was interesting and had in my mix, winds up running 3rd. Gift Box again 4th. Nice little ding-dong battle here. A neck victory for Seeking the Soul. And owner Charles Vipke, Dallas Stewart trains. John Velasquez on board. Congratulations to them. The disappointment for me, I'll toss in some of the other results. Yoshida wound up 6th. And the disappointment for me was Tenfold, who wound up 9th in the field at 12. And I said yesterday, I thought the horse could be a little bit interesting. Wound up going off at 12-1, and I thought there would be some value. But going back to the Pimlico Special, which Tenfold won, I thought he might have signaled, hey, I'm going to be a little bit of a player in this older handicap division. Didn't quite validate that last night. The chart comment, in fact, never involved, which is never good for a chart comment. But he was sitting at the back of the pack most of the way. Again, Tenfold I'm talking about, and just never kind of fired the way we saw in the Pimlico Special. We'll see. Before I give up, I always like to see a couple, either one way or the other. A couple that say, all right, this is one to look at, or a couple that say, little bit disappointing. So let's move on to somebody else. But tenfold again, the disappointment. Seeking the Soul, however, very interesting. Dallas Stewart saying, obviously the goal now, the Breeders' Cup Classic at the end of the year. We'll see where they go next. Dallas usually has horses up at Saratoga, so you would have to think Whitney, Woodward are possibilities. This horse, you go back to November of 2017, the winner of the Grade 1 Clark at Churchill. The past, I'm just looking down the past. We have to go back to September of last year, so we're going back 6 starts to find the most recent victory before last night. Had run, kind of third in the Ali Sheba last time. Had run 8th when they took the shot in the Dubai World Cup. Was a decent little second, though, the start of the year in the Pegasus World Cup behind City of Light, though. So again, Dallas Stewart, big event, a horse who had shown some flashes throughout the career, now 27 starts with 7 wins, and went over the $3 million mark last night. So a nice little 6-year-old runner for Dallas Stewart, who again was flashing the "don't ignore me" light last night with the win by Seeking the Soul in the Foster. Buyer figure for Seeking the Soul, a very nice 103. Going to be interesting to see where they go next. The Fleur de Lis, I took a little shot against a late, not much. I had She's a Julie over a late. I thought if you're going to take a shot at going against those two, it would be Blue Prize. Top of the stretch and well into the stretch, She's a Julie, the number 2, and Blue Prize, the number 5, were ding-donging it. She's a Julie on the inside, and usually those, when they get past, they tend to fade. Not She's a Julie. She comes back, and about here, as she comes back, I think she's going to gut it out. But a late finally gets into gear, and a late, the number 3 horse on the outside, goes by, and then as that one goes by on the outside, She's a Julie just kind of says, ooh, okay, I'm done, and fades and winds up just getting nipped for second. I thought She's a Julie was interesting yesterday. I still think going forward, she's a real player in this division, which, despite that nice victory by a late yesterday, Midnight Bijou has a stranglehold currently on this older filly and mare division. Had beaten a late already a couple of times earlier this year down at Oaklawn, but finally a late gets out of the shadow of Midnight Bijou, who looked so great last weekend in New York, and gets it done. Bill Mott being down there at Churchill. Again, he says Breeders' Cup filly and mare. Breeders' Cup distaff is their goal at the end of the year, and they'll kind of plan out going into that. But, personal ensign up at Saratoga. I mean, Bill Mott, obviously, with the runners up at Saratoga, you would have to think a late is a possibility. Just missed in the personal ensign last year with that ding-dong battle with Abel Tasman. So you would think we'll see a late up at Saratoga. And potentially She's a Julie as well. Blue Prize, the runner-up in here. And again, it was a late. Blue Prize and She's a Julie, 1, 2, 3. Blue Prize, I don't know where you could expect to see this one next. Kind of based down there in Kentucky. But again, we'll see where that one goes. The top 2 runners, though, you would think Saratoga probably on the agenda. And maybe another showdown with Midnight Bijou up at Saratoga. We'll see. But a late looked pretty good last night. Again, Bill Mott in town. And in the winner's circle after that race, and part of the reason he was in town traditionally on Stephen Foster night, they present the Kentucky Derby trophy. They have a little bit of a presentation to the connections of the Kentucky Derby winner. So I imagine that's a big part of the reason Bill Mott was down at Churchill last night. The Fleur de Lis and a late getting a 96 buyer figure last night. The Wise Dan. All right, here was the race where you had the opportunity to make some money. And I said yesterday when we were in here doing the extended version of OTB Live, down the superfecta, there were prices, but certainly the first 2 finishers at 10-1 and 71-1. They were they were havable horses for their prices, even 71 to 1. The horse that runs second will be number 2, All Right, at 71 to 1. He was coming off a 6th place finish at Monmouth, but 3 starts back had won at the Fairgrounds and with a number that was kind of competitive with this bunch, probably a little bit light, but this is a horse with 1 win and a second and 4 starts this year. So there was a little bit that you could have hung your hat on. 30 to 1 on the morning line. I'm not saying you were going to see a red flashing light pointing to this horse, but it was the kind when you looked up at the board and saw 71 to 1, you might have tossed it into your mix. I didn't. I'm kind of red boarding here, but that's after a race. This is kind of what you do to reverse engineer and just kind of realize, you know what, these are the kind that when you look up and see 71 to 1, maybe take a second look. So number 2, All Right, will run second. The winner will be number 11, March to the Arch. I had neither of these in my mix, but again, March to the Arch, it's Mark Cassie, it's Live Oak Plantation, had won a stake at Tampa 2 starts back in the seasonal debut, ran kind of a lackluster 5th in the Turf Classic at Churchill in the previous start, but looks pretty good coming down the stretch here. March to the Arch, getting up late to win by a neck, and really a ding-dong battle. You'll see 3 on the wire, neck, head, 4 on the wire, neck, head. March to the Arch over number 2, All Right. Number 12, Admission Office, who Joe Christofek talked about yesterday. You can see that one coming late. Christofek liked the horse at 5 to 1 on the morning line when we talked to him yesterday. That one eventually went off as the 2 to 1 favorite and runs 3rd in there. Parlor runs 4th. And again, with the prices, a 10 to 1 over a 71 to 1, $2 exacta, 20 cents below $1,700, $1,699.80 on the exact here. But again, a couple of horses, not necessarily logical, not jumping off the page, but at the price you could have. And I thought going into the race, I said last night I was going to play around a little bit. I had Cullum Road in my mix. It was a little bit disappointing running 9th, but that one was 22 to 1. It was a race where the favorite was 2 to 1, but once you got beyond the favorite, there were great odds all around. So it was the kind of race where you could have played and taken a little bit of a shot. As I said last night, hopefully somebody out there did. Obviously, given the results, not many. But as I said when I talked to people last night, the winner was obviously included by people because I did run into a couple of people who had won that all stakes pick 5. So again, congratulations. March to the Arch, again, Mark Cassie, Live Oak Plantation, and Tyler Gaffleone on board. Gaffleone and Mark Cassie certainly having a nice little run here over the past month and a half or so. March to the Arch gets it done with a 96 buyer in the Wise Dan. Stakes action kicked off with a 3-year-old stake last night, the Matt Win. I didn't know what to do with Mr. Money. I put him down in the 3rd spot just because the race in the Pat Day Mile was clearly very good. May have signaled the horse had turned the corner and was now one to watch and a little bit of a player in the 3-year-old division. But as I say, I had it down in the 3rd spot. I was looking for the validation last night in the Matt Win. We got it. I took a shot with Signal Man. That one ran well. A nice 2nd place finish. Nola Contesto was in the 2nd spot for me. That horse was a complete disappointment. Did have some trouble at the start, but Nola Contesto, the 3 last in the field of 7. But it will be number 6, Mr. Money, winning pretty easily. Number 2, Signal Man 2nd. Proverb running 3rd in here. Mr. Money, the betting public, far, far more confident on this one than I was. 2 to 1 on the morning line, but eventually went off as the 3 to 5 favorite. The chart margin here, 6.5 lengths. Mr. Money for Brett Calhoun gets it done. And as I say, seems to now have turned the corner. The win in the Pat Day was by 5 lengths, 5+ lengths, and it was a win over Hog Creek Hustle. That one validated the performance and flattered Mr. Money with the win last week in New York. So now you put the Pat Day Mile and the Matt Win together, and compare to what we saw a little bit earlier in the career. I think Mr. Money now in starts number 7 last time and start number 8 last night is signaled, I figured it out, and could be a little bit of an interesting player going forward on the 3-year-old scene, which is still up in the air. We'll get a little more feel for that perhaps this afternoon with a couple of stakes that we'll talk a little bit about as the show goes along. But Mr. Money, again, tosses his hat in the ring. A 98 buyer last night in the Matt win for Mr. Money. So again, nice stakes action last night at Churchill Downs. And I just wanted to also toss in, don't have the replay, but we did look as the night progressed at the really nice card on the sulky side of things up at Woodbine Mohawk last night. Some nice stakes action on the undercard, but it was highlighted by the $1 million Pepsi North American Cup. I thought Working on a Mystery was the horse to beat, being undefeated this year. Was kind of stepping into a spot where the horse was going to have to validate himself in this kind of company, but I used that one on top. Working on a Mystery winds up third as the 7-5 favorite. Horse I had down at the bottom of my mix, Captain Crunch, gets it done. Had a long win streak snap in the last race, but rebounded last night and broke stride last time. Went off as the short-priced favorite and broke stride. That kind of darkened the form. You toss that in with the 8 post position last night, and Captain Crunch, who clearly has a lot of talent, escaped at a little bit of a price, getting away at 4-1, $10 and change win price on Captain Crunch. Working on a Mystery runs third, and Better's Wish, the number 3 horse, runs second as those two bookend that one. Better's Wish also won, who was undefeated this year and looked like a logical contender. Third choice actually, at 7-2. So 3 of the logicals, 1, 2, 3, in kind of reverse order to their odds last night, with Captain Crunch getting it done in the $1 million Pepsi North America Cup up at Woodbine Mohawk. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. We've done a little review. Now we'll do a little preview. When we come back, a little handicapping for this afternoon. And coming up in about 15 minutes or so, recorded an interview yesterday with Chris Sobocinski from Delaware Park. They ran the Obeah yesterday, and I thought it was a good opportunity to kind of recap that one, which typically serves as a prep for the Del Cap, which comes up the second week of July. And is always an interesting race. But I thought, given the Obeah being run yesterday, we could do a little recap of that. But also, we're a little bit into the Delaware meet right now, and I know with running on Mondays, our customers, you out there, like to play a little Delaware on Monday. So I thought we'd also just kind of recap what's gone on so far and some things to look forward to as well. And as I say, we taped that yesterday. Delaware doesn't run on Sunday, so I said to Chris, you want to come on with us live, or is it easier? And he had some things going on today, so we caught up with him yesterday, really right after, an hour or so after the Obeah was run. So again, we'll do that in the last segment, but right after this break, we'll give you some ideas for Sunday afternoon. Handicapping segment is up next. Stay tuned.
Here in upstate New York, no one provides bettors with more wagering options than Capital OTB. Our network of branch and easy bet locations stretches from the mid-Hudson Valley all the way to the Canadian border and west to central New York. So whether you need to place a bet, fund your Capital Bets account, or watch the next big race, all the action is just around the corner. A full list of our branch and easy bet locations can be found online at capitalotb.com. Capital OTB, the better and most convenient choice for wagering in upstate New York.
In a recent study of some of the top online wagering sites, Capital OTB won big in total player rewards, far surpassing some of the best-known wagering sites in America. While other rewards programs simply offer you points redeemable for gift cards, Capital OTB's rebates are paid to you in actual cash. Plus, Capital OTB gives you full and immediate access to your money. So if all you're getting now are points and gift cards, join Capital OTB Player Rewards today and get cash back. Visit capitalotbbet.com and sign up today. No matter where in the world you are, the excitement of wagering on horse racing is just a click away. You'll get live streaming, past performances, race replays, our virtual tote board, analysis and selections from professional handicappers, a simple, safe, and secure wagering platform, and best of all, you get track prices. CapitalOTBBet.com. Bet any place, anytime at CapitalOTBBet.com. And be sure to download our new mobile app from the iTunes Store or Google Play.
Welcome back to Racing Across America on this Sunday morning, Sunday Father's Day. So happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. Kick back, enjoy the day, play some races, make some money. Let the fam go out and do the burgers on the grill today. If you can get out, it was a little rainy as I came in. But good news as far as weather. I've been checking various Twitter feeds to see if we can get an update on Belmont today as far as weather down there. And finally, Andy Serling just a few minutes ago tweeted out the updated scratches and has today at Belmont listed as fast and firm. We love that. So there will be some turf racing. Given that, I thought why not take a look at the late pick 4 at Belmont today in our handicapping segment, toss out some ideas there. And so that's what we will do. And speaking of scratches, as always, this is on Twitter, so check officially, but I would expect Andy has them right in the 6th race, and we'll kick off with the 6th race. He has the 10 as a scratch, so to get the 10 out. In the 6th at Belmont, maiden 40 claimers go 1 mile and 60 on grass. I have it 7, 2, 3, and 1. Number 17, win Todd Fletcher, trainee for Mike Rapoli. A couple of turf tries most recently. Clearly, number-wise improved on the turf, just finished position. Wasn't anything great home. Up again, did improve on the turf and did better numbers have set up this field. And that's probably because those races ran some special ways, which is the main claiming race today. So again, you know what we've seen the last couple on the turf with the class relief, 15 win on top in race 6. Leto's run in the 2nd spot. I have some meeting here that I think is worth paying attention to. Moving, especially with main claiming, they pay 50 for the horse, so they move it to 40 tag. I think it's a suspicious spot for the Bonaventure runner. I also think the rear debut, okay. So half the field. I think they may just be kind of realistic and win a snug little spot here. I think this horse has the potential to move forward with the one shot of experience under the belt, so we'll use that one. And Blue Jean Kitten in the 3rd spot. A couple of nice second-place finishes most recently after dropping into Maiden Claiming Company, so we'll toss that one into the mix as well. Belmont's 6th race, 7, 2, 3, and 1. Race number 7 at Belmont today, optional claimer with a C condition. It's only a field of half a dozen. I have it 1, 3, 5, and 4. I'm just master of the obvious here with Expert. The Linda Rice trainee on the numbers over the past few starts has a slight edge on pretty much the entire field, other than perhaps backside of the moon. I just couldn't pull the trigger there, and this horse in 3 starts this year has run well. Just hasn't gotten it done. Over the past couple of seasons, only 1 win. So I put Backside of the Moon down in my mix a little bit. Expert, again, on the recent numbers, looks like the direction to go. Rudy Rodriguez for Mike Rapoli has Tour de Force, who should be a player in here, stepping out of some stakes action. And Timber Ghost. It's Jimmy Jerkins with the Stronach runner, who seemed to have shown some flashes at points that indicate this may be a nice little horse, and just has shown some flashes and hasn't been able to kind of put them together and really validate it. But I think Timber Ghost has some potential. Probably has to step it up a little as far as getting into the mix with Expert. But there are some back numbers that say, I think that's maybe possible. Interesting player in the 7th today. And I'm looking, okay. So I'm going to change things up here. I'm looking at the scratches that Andy Serling listed. He says the number 1 is out. And again, double check on those because these are Twitter scratches as opposed to absolutely official. But if that is true, if Expert is in, I will use that one. Expert is out. 3, 5, and 4 for me in the 7th at Belmont. All right, the 8th at Belmont, we have no scratches listed there. The 8th at Belmont today is the Poker. Annually, one of the more interesting stakes races on the NYRA calendar, I think, and it always plays into Saratoga. You'll get the first 1, 2, 3 finishers from the Poker showing up in some stakes action up at Saratoga, and worth paying attention to. I have the Poker this afternoon, 1, 6, 9, and 4. I put Clyde's Image on top. A decent little 7-2 on the morning line. off a nice triple-digit buyer last time. That was the third of 3 improving numbers. So this horse, I think, number-wise, is moving in the right direction. Could be primed for a nice effort this afternoon with Javier Castellano in the saddle. Clyde's Image on top. Ticonderoga in the second spot. It's Chad Brown. Tossed in a little bit of a clunker in the Turf Classic down at Churchill last time. I feel pretty confident the horse is better than that, though. I'll look for a rebound, and on a best effort, Ticonderoga, very dangerous. Let's see if we get the 5-1. Chad Brown, Jose Ortiz. And we'll hope for the 5-1. Dr. Edgar in the third spot, the Barkley Tag trainee. 2 wins and a second in the last 3 starts. Certainly belongs in this mix and will be a contender from that outside post position. So race number 8 at Belmont Park. The Poker, Grade 3 event, 1, 6, 9, and 4. Wrap things up at Belmont today in race number 9. It's scheduled to go off about 10 minutes before 6. State-bred maiden claimers going 6.5. In the 9th at Belmont, I have a 3, 2, 1, and 5. Schwarbertown for Linda Rice on top. Again, I say this a lot, a weak field. You're just looking for a little something to hang your hat on. Some fairly decent numbers. Certainly the career debut near miss number was very good, particularly against this field, and that's what we're talking about. It wasn't a number overall that was spectacular, but with this field fits. Moved from that to a turf race where the number was okay, still comparable. Finishing position not as impressive. Well, today they come back on the dirt. They move down the claiming ranks a little bit. They add blinkers. Schwarbertown on top for me. Lorcan in the second spot. Again, you're looking for some numbers that just compare nicely with a relatively weak bunch. I think you can make that case for Lorcan, who like the top bet, getting a little added class relief. And then this is the kind of race where you can go for that fresh face factor that I like. And the Jeremiah Engelhardt trainee, the Confidant, is that first-time starter that may come out running in an otherwise weak field. In the 9th and final at Belmont, 3, 2, 1, and 5. I alluded to it earlier. I wanted to touch on a couple other races today, just not really to handicap because they're short fields with likely big favorites, but I do want to alert you to keep your eyes open for a couple today. And all eyes will clearly be on Monmouth this evening at about 5 o'clock. The Pegasus. Race number 10 at Monmouth today, $150,000 up for grabs for 3-year-olds going a mile and a 16th. Kind of a traditional prep for the Haskell. And as I say, all eyes on this one. Why? The return of Maximum Security. First under the finish line for Jason Service and Gary and Mary West in the Kentucky Derby, subsequently disqualified and placed 17th. Ouch. Been working since. Jason Service, however, has been on the fence about this spot, so maybe there's some question marks. It's a field of 6. I think he has a clear edge on all. To me, King for a Day, though, is interesting. Todd Pletcher trainee, numbers have improved. Start 1 to start 2 to start 3 to start 4. Start 4 was the 3-year-old seasonal debut. That was the best yet. It was in the Sir Barton down at Pimlico. Maybe kind of an up-and-coming 3-year-old for Todd Pletcher, King for a Day. So, as I say, that one's maybe a little bit interesting to me. Last Judgment for Todd Pletcher comes out of a disappointing finish in the Pat Day Mile, but with Hog Creek Hustle and Mr. Money running as well as they did over the past couple of weeks, maybe the Pat Day Mile has a little key race feel, and despite the poor finish, maybe Last Judgment is also interesting for Pletcher. Clearly, though, everybody going to be taking a serious look and see how Maximum Security rebounds out of his disappointing situation in the Kentucky Derby. And again, having worked out since, and Jason Service having been a little bit on the fence to go to this Pegasus, it'll be intriguing to see what we get from Maximum Security this afternoon. Again, scheduled post time, race 10 at Monmouth, 5 o'clock. Keep your eyes open right here on the network for that one. And again, with nighttime thoroughbred racing tonight on Capital OTB TV and Capital OTB Bet, you will also be able to watch and wager on the Affirmed out in Santa Anita. Scheduled post time locally, 5:09 here That means Eastern time, 8:09 is the scheduled post time. It's race 8 at Santa Anita, and that features the return of Roadster, 16th, disappointing 16th in the Kentucky Derby. This is the Santa Anita Derby winner. Mucho Gusto also in for Bob Baffert. He comes out of a win in the mid-May Las Barrera out in Southern California. But Roadster, if you remember, I interviewed Baffert when we were down at Gulfstream for the Florida Derby. They had the sale midweek, and Baffert was at the sale, and we caught up with him and talked, and I was kind of going through a series of his 3-year-olds and where's this one going and how's this one look, et cetera, including Mucho Gusto. And then he tossed in, don't forget Roadster. He's doing well. He's going to run well in the Santa Anita Derby. And sure enough, it was about a week later, he winds up in the Santa Anita Derby and gets it done. So I think Bob Baffert had some real confidence in Roadster. It was borne out in the Santa Anita Derby, but as I say, tossed in a little bit of a clunk in the Kentucky Derby. Mike Smith gets back on board this afternoon, this evening, and another 3-year-old race worth paying a little bit of attention to. Toss it in with Mr. Money last night at Churchill Downs, and there's the potential here to see some 3-year-olds, particularly obviously maximum security, but also some 3-year-olds that'll be interesting to watch as the summer progresses. All right, that gives you a little preview of some action today. As noted earlier, we're going to take a break. When we come back, shift our attention. Delaware Park has been underway for a few weeks now, so I thought we'd reach out and just get a little update on what's been going on there. They had a nice stakes yesterday that will play into the Delaware Handicap a few weeks down the line. So we'll talk a little Delaware Park when we come back after this next break. Stay tuned.
Where's the best place to find your favorite teams, your favorite food, daily drink specials, and wagering on live horse racing? Legends Field Sports Bar, 711 Central Avenue, Albany. Get your game on day or night with 75 flat-screen TVs, tournament-style pool tables, a private banquet room, and live horse racing. So if someone asks you, where's the best sports bar in the capital region? Tell them Legends Field Sports Bar, inside the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue, Albany.
What if there was a way to become a better horse player, to have a better knowledge of the game, to be more successful? What if there were a way to take what you've learned, what you know, and make better decisions, better choices? In horse racing, knowledge is a powerful tool. Race results and replays, past performances and live streaming, wagering from all your digital devices. Capital OTB. Become a better horse player.
You like free money? Well, Capital OTB gives its players plenty of opportunities to cash in. At Capital OTB, there are so many ways for horse players to receive bonus dollars by simply participating in promotions such as our bankrolls, bounty bets, online handicapping contests, and much, much more. Plus, with Capital OTB's Player Rewards program, you get actual cash back. So what are you waiting for? Log on today at CapitalOTB.com or CapitalOTBBet.com and claim your free money.
Birdstone is an outside front. They're coming down to the finish. Can Smarty Jones hold on? Here comes Birdstone. Birdstone surges past. Birdstone wins the Belmont Stakes. In front, but here comes High Chaparral. High Chaparral, the defending champ, to take it to Bob. These two arch rivals head to head with Joe Hart bearing down on them. It's going to be a 3-horse photo finish to the turn. Here's the wire. Photo finish.
Welcome back to Racing Across America on this Sunday morning. Again, Sunday, Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to everybody celebrating out there. As mentioned a couple of times already, the Obeah yesterday at Delaware Park, I thought a good opportunity to reach out and talk a little bit about this stakes race. Big favorite was another broad for Todd Pletcher. Disappoints a little bit as the even money favorite. Arnaud Delacour, as his trainer, had Good One Honey, Gotham Gala in there. And Arnaud Delacour having a nice meet so far. And I thought we'd talk a little bit about the Obeah. And again, what's been happening at the meet so far, trainers and jocks to watch. Certainly with the Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday schedule. Mondays, I think Delaware attracts a lot of attention from you, our customers, as well as me. I enjoy the Delaware racing. Typically also Wednesdays you get those midweek stakes races. Those are always fun down at Delaware. So I thought we'd take the opportunity with the Obeah to kind of recap that race and get a little update on the current meet at Delaware Park from Chris Sobocinski from Delaware Park. He's up next. Saturday, maybe an hour in the rear view mirror of the Obeah, typically a prep for the Del Cap, and so I wanted to recap that, but I thought we'd also get Chris to just, we're a little ways into the meet, do a little recap of where we are so far and a little preview of some of the big events coming up. Chris, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Seth, for having me on.
And I'm saying good morning, but as I say, we taped on Saturday evening after the Obeah. And why don't, before we get into kind of an overview of the meet so far, why don't we go back to the stakes race? It was a little bit of an upset. It was a fun race. I was sitting in here doing the handicapping show, had it on the TV watching, and it's going to be, as we watch the stretch run, number 2 Gotham Gala, wire to wire at 7-1 for Arnaud Delacour. Looked like maybe in the stretch a couple others had a chance to catch up. Good one. Honey, certainly the number 3 horse, ran a good second. Another Broad, the big favorite from Todd Pletcher, a little bit of a disappointment. The number 1 horse running third in here. But boy, this was a nice performance from Gotham Gala with Dan Santino on board, and as I say, trained by Arnaud Delacour. Your thoughts for the Obeah?
Well, I spoke to Arnaud Delacour after the race,
still racing second. Another Broad is
he was very excited. He was very excited for the owner, Mark Weir, put a lot of money into the game, and he's happy to have some nice horses for him and to get him at the top of their game. The second thing he was happy about was the horse's performance. He was a little bit worried last time out when he stretched out for the first time in a while. He was a little bit worried that she might not be able to handle the distance. But he was really encouraged by the fact that he thought that she had really good cruising speed. And she showed that today. And not only did she show the good cruising speed, but she also showed the ability to be able to kick in late and get the job done late. The ironic thing is we've had 2 stakes races, other stakes races leading up to this. One is one was the Lighthearted, which is a local prep for the Delaware Oaks, and the other one is the Stanton, which is a local prep for the Kent. And Delacour won both of those. And he won both of those with works very similar to the way Gotham Gala won today. Some question marks, and all of them were answered in the affirmative.
Yeah, it was a nice race, as I say, on the front end, chart margin of 3 1/4. And reading your press release, I was reading those comments. They stretched the horse out last time. They started the career a couple of times going 2 turns on the turf. But the dirt races were all sprints until the last time over at Monmouth, and he thought maybe the horse had an excuse there. But they got out to the front this afternoon, and she just looked fabulous, taking them all the way around. It sounded like he's going to kind of sit back and wait to see who's maybe pointed to the Del Cap, but certainly off of this effort, he has to be happy wherever he decides to go.
I think he's very happy, and when I was also speaking to him about the Del Cap, it was brought up about how horses who won in the Obeah have come back to win the Del Cap. Now, granted, there hasn't been very many winners from the Obeah to the Del Cap. I mean, there have been a couple, but there have been a lot of horses that run well and run big. And I think the most recent one was Martini Glass, who gave Songbird everything that she could handle in the Del Cap. So I always like the Obeah as a prep. It may not give you a winner, but it might give you a nice long shot to round out a trifecta or an exacta. And every once in a while, it does give you a winner, and it's usually at a price.
Yeah, she looked very good. And as you say, Delacour having a pretty good meet down there as well. We've alluded to it. Let's promo a little bit. The big events coming up, July 6th, the Delaware Oaks, July 14th, the Del Cap, and both of those cards with great undercard stakes races as well. Prep us a little bit on July 6th, the Del Oaks, and July 14th, the Delaware Handicap.
Yeah, I'm really excited about July 6th for the Delaware Oaks because it's going to be the first time that we've had the Kent Stakes on the undercard with the Delaware Oaks. So we're going to have 3 grade 3 races that day, including the Delaware Oaks. So I'm really excited to see how the horse players respond. I think they will, because I think we're going to put on a good card and run some exciting races. So it's going to be interesting to see how the horse players respond. In addition to those Grade 3 races, I also believe we're having the Cape Henlopen Open Stakes on that day, which has always been a nice stake. It's a $75,000 mile-and-a-half stake. A couple of years ago, the Arlington Million winner came out of that stake. So it's going to be a fun day, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Delaware, the handicap, the Del Cap on July 14th. Midnight Bijou now looks to have kind of a stranglehold on that division, but I think you get beyond her. We're still kind of waiting for Monomoy Girl, so you get past Midnight Bijou, it's a little bit up in the air, so I'm looking forward to the Del Cap this year as well.
Yes, and the Del Cap is going to be an exciting race, always an exciting race. And for the first time this year, we're running all of our match races on the undercard of the Del Cap, and I'm very, very excited about that.
Yeah, that's part of that match series in the Mid-Atlantic region?
Yes,
yeah.
And those races have been competitive so far. They've been exciting. I believe the first set of match races were Pimlico, and then the next were Penn National, and then Delaware Park's going to be leg 3.
Yeah, as I said, obviously highlighted those 2 days, the Delaware Oaks and the Del Cap, the 6th and the 14th of July, but really nice looking undercards as well. So we'll look forward to those, and maybe we'll catch up to you before those days as well. Let's talk a little bit about the Delaware Park meet so far. We're a few weeks in, and I know you started 3 days a week. Schedule now is 4 days, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday. I know our bettors like Monday. It offers a nice alternative. I know folks like to play Delaware, but it is Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday now?
Yes, it is. And Wednesdays usually end up being a really good day for us, too. That's the reason why we try to run some of those $50,000 stakes on Wednesdays.
Yeah, and that's kind of fun. Anytime a track runs a midweek stakes race, that adds a little bit of excitement, no question.
It's really been a good formula for us at Delaware Park. As a matter of fact, I think our three best days so far this meet have been Wednesday.
Oh, that's interesting. And the fact of the matter is now, over the past couple of years, Wednesday has become one of those days where you're kind of floating out there as one of the nice signals with some of the other venues cutting down to Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The Mondays and Wednesdays give you, as I say, our customers like it because they like to play Delaware. A lot of familiar names there. And speaking of familiar names, let's talk about so far early in the meet. Let's first talk about on the trainer side of things. Pulled up the Equibase stats. Gerald Bennett and Anthony Pecoraro sitting atop the trainer stats. But again, familiar names. Jamie Ness is sitting in third. We already talked about Arnaud Delacour. He's having a pretty good meet down there. Jim Lawrence only has started 6 horses, but you got to pay attention when he moves in. He's won 3 of those 6. Scott Lake down there as well. Talk about the trainer side of things so far.
Well, you hit it right on the head with the trainers race. It's been very competitive, and Gerald Bennett and Tony Pecoraro, it seems like they can't do anything wrong so far in this meet. They've been sending out horses, and they've been winning in all different kind of spots. And below that, it's been as competitive so far as I can ever remember it being. I think there's probably at least 5 trainers that are, possibly in the hunt for leading trainer at the end of the year. And I can't remember the last time that's actually happened.
Yeah, you look down the list and you're exactly right. You go to the top 5 or 6 and they're all clustered really within, 5 wins of the leaders. So it's going to be a fun kind of human side of things to pay attention to. Over on the jockey side, I always find this fun when a female jockey is a leader, and Carol Cedino does so well at Delaware. She's continuing this year. The Equibase stats today have her 1 behind Alex Cintron. So Cintron leads, Carol Cedino in second, Trevor McCarthy with good numbers, Jeremy Rose, who's at Delaware doing well, Dan Santino, who won the stake today, again a familiar name to those of us who like to play Tampa in the wintertime. But I think you have a really fun jockey colony this year, too.
Yes, we do. And you hit it right on the head again with Carol Cedeno. She's one tough nut. She's one of the toughest female jockeys I've ever met. I got a ton of respect for her, and it looks like she's riding as well this year as she's ridden any year at Delaware Park. And you also mentioned Jeremy Rose, who has been on fire, especially when he's riding for Tony Pecoraro. It just seems like that combination has really been hitting, and it's a very dangerous combination. And I'm also very happy for Jeremy that he's picking up winners. He's been working really hard in the mornings for the last couple of years, and I'm really happy that he's having some success in getting back to where he was.
Yeah, our friend Frank Vespi, who does the Racing Biz website covering racing in the Mid-Atlantic, did a nice profile of Jeremy. I don't know if it was Frank or one of his writers, but it was on his website within the last, I want to say, week and a half or so. I would tell people to go back and look at it, kind of a resurgence for Jeremy Rose, and it's fun to kind of read those, and then fun to root for guys like that who are coming back and hitting and being successful. And I'm looking at these Equibase stats, 33% on the win end. That's pretty good early in the meet.
Yes. And, the other exciting thing about Jeremy is I get to talk to Jeremy a lot. I know Jeremy pretty well, and he's not only having success as a jockey, but he's having success as a man too. Yeah. And it's really exciting to see. I'm very happy for him. Let's put it that way. He's settling down, and things are turning around for him, I think.
Yeah, that's great to hear. You and I were talking before we went on the air, and I wanted you to tout this a little bit because certainly we up here in the Albany-Saratoga area are driving distance from Delaware Park, and I know a lot of our listeners and viewers like to play in the handicapping contest. I do too. I don't get enough time, and unfortunately I don't get enough time to travel around, but I know a lot of people like to go to the various venues, and I saw on the website you have some handicapping contests coming up. Some are down the road. There's one in November. There's one at the end of August. But July 4th, if folks want to hop in the car, looks like you have one coming up right around the corner down at Delaware Park.
Yeah, last year was the first year I decided to have one on July 4th. The reason being was because the weekend before July 4th there was a handicapping contest, and the weekend after July 4th there was a handicapping contest. So one of my close friends and person gives me advice at Delaware Park said, why don't you just try having it in the middle of the week and have it on July 4th, which is sort of goes against tradition. And we did really well, and I was excited about it, so I decided to try to do it again this year. And the reason being, what I found out is when you have July 4th, when it falls on a Wednesday or a Thursday, people usually got to work the next day or the day before. So it was perfect for a lot of handicappers because it gave them the ability to give for a nice day trip to Delaware Park. Yeah. And it really worked out well. And, our handicapping contests aren't the biggest in the world. They're kind of small and they're intimate. We usually get about 70 entries. The first prize is usually around $3,500, but they're really fun. And because they're small, I think it makes it a lot more fun. Yeah, it's a real simple contest. It's a $100 entry fee. You have a $100 bankroll that you put up. $150 bankroll that you put up. So you need $250 cash to start out with, and you have to make a minimum of 10 wagers. You can win as many races as you want. But it's got to be a minimum of 10, and the minimum wage is $10, and it's win-place show. Real simple, straightforward. The player with the highest bankroll at the end of the day is the winner, and we pay down to fourth place. And we've had some pretty tight races the last couple of handicap contests, and they've been really fun to run.
Yeah, and $3,500 isn't anything to sneeze at.
Yeah, it's a nice little prize. Now, granted, there are some tournaments that give a lot more for first prize, but there's a lot more people in them, and they're not as intimate. They're in my opinion, not as fun because they're too big.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons. I time is the big reason. But I could play in some of these internet contests, but the fields are just so big that it's likely that there will be 3 or 4 people in there that just have a career day that you're chasing. Whereas if you move around to some of these venues, you get a more intimate crowd. But again, $3,500 is a nice price to walk away with for, as you say, a day trip and go to a track. And maybe folks haven't visited Delaware and they can check it off. And I will highly recommend. It's a nice little facility. I've been there and enjoy it. And I'm assuming with the format, folks aren't just betting on Delaware. What are the other tracks that they can look at?
That's right. Thank you for mentioning that. We have 6 tracks. So we include New York, Parks, the Maryland track, and usually one of the bigger Kentucky tracks. I'm not sure who will be running in July in Kentucky on July 4th. But it's usually 6 tracks, and it's usually the 6 big tracks that are out there, including Delaware and the local tracks in the area.
Yeah, that's great. And so folks will have the opportunity to kind of pick some spots at tracks they maybe play on a daily basis, and then jump in and maybe take a little live action in Delaware as well.
It's a great atmosphere too, and you can play some sports wagers while you're down.
Oh, nice! Delaware. I hadn't thought of that. That's right. You guys have sports wagering.
It's a great synergy. When we used to have parlay wagering, and we were the only game in town when it was parlay wagering, I always would try to have a handicapping contest the first weekend of the NFL, and it worked out better than anything. I'm kind of disappointed we have full scale sports wagering now, because that parlay the handicapping contest on the first Saturday of the NFL football season was a hoot to run. It was a blast.
I forgot about
But we still get some of that every day now with the full scale sports wagering. So that synergy is a good synergy.
Oh, we'll check in again then, because I see, as I say, you have that one coming up on November 30th. We'll check in and tout that, because that, I think people would have a lot of fun. You could go down and play some NFL back in November with the November handicapping contest.
Exactly.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Oh, very good. Chris, appreciate the visit. And again, I just wanted to take this opportunity with the Obeah being run on Saturday, the prep for the Del Cap. I thought it was a great opportunity to go in and recap the stakes action, but also just kind of give folks a little look at where we are with the Delaware meet so far, and talk a little bit about what you have going forward. Always appreciate the time. Wish you and everybody down there at Delaware good luck. And as I say, there were a couple opportunities I'm looking forward to. We'll check back in again as the meet goes along.
Seth, thank you very much. And to all your viewers, pay attention to Delacour Del Cap weekend and also Delaware State. Yeah. I'm not sure what horse is going to win at a price, but I think he's going to have at least one.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it. Chris Sobocinski from Delaware Park. For joining us again. We talked to him last night right after the Obeah. No racing at Delaware on Sunday. He had some things going on. Actually, his daughter was in a softball tournament, so he actually bounced around the last couple of days, but he thought he might be tied up today, which was fine, because we caught up with him last night right after the Obeah. And again, I know you folks and myself as well like that Delaware signal. Gives you a nice track on Mondays to take a look at. Again, the Wednesdays often have some stakes races midweek. And keep in mind that handicapping contest. If you want to take a little shot and drive down on July 4th, it's certainly driving distance. And as I said to Chris, you wind up with a $3,500 top prize. That's nothing to sneeze at. So again, enjoyed talking with Chris Sobocinski from Delaware Park. Before we go, I mentioned it last week. I know Kentucky Derby weekend at Churchill, Preakness weekend at Pimlico. There are typically awards given for the top trainers, top jockeys, top owners over those weekends of stakes races. And I said last week I wasn't sure, I wasn't positive. They did it at Belmont. They did, however, and I just wanted to touch on that. And I said last week, whether they do it or not, clearly the winner would have been or was Chad Brown. And he did win the Sonny Jim Fitzsimmons Award for Outstanding Trainer, and how could he not? I mean, he won 7 of the 18 stakes races, settled 9 winners overall for the Belmont Stakes Festival. On the Saturday card, Guarana, Rushing Fall, Bricks and Mortar. So there was no question. Again, you win 7 of the 18 stakes, you're pretty likely to pick up the award for the trainer of the big weekend. So it's that Chucky side, Carol Award, whether it's Rosario, had 7 wins, runner finishes in 23 months, obviously highlighted by Ride Village, by Swinson, the Belmont Stakes, and Karlovich was the owner of the Belmont Trophy Karlovich. 3 wins, 4 runner finishes over the weekend, including course, Bricks and Mortar's celebration of House. And they were award winners. Owner trainer, Belmont Stakes. All right, I'm going to let all right up. We'll be back in hours with live for Sunday afternoon. Don't forget a time for the available night on Capital TV. Capital TV, Capital TV, and that'll look at this firm tonight, a little after 8 o'clock race, and the first one more here on Texas Mountain is with 10, scheduled by 5 o'clock. Return, national security photos here on Capital TV. We can all with us obviously for Sunday afternoon, for seeing that event, and then there's White, Matt, and German racing over the board, a couple weeks, or in your request, but also for the auto hours live. Is we do a trifecta challenge format contest that continues right here today at the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue in Albany. All right, Seth Merrow in the studio. We're going to wrap things up for Racing Across America for another Sunday morning. As always, thanks for joining us. Again, happy Father's Day to everyone out there celebrating it. And again, be back in a couple hours with OTB Live for a Sunday afternoon.